So this is pretty important for several reasons. For one, for safety. For two, you don't want to be blowing up your prop in your cage all the time. And then, of course, cost is another factor. This prop costs $800. To try and replace this cage and frame, one little oops on a Nirvana, for example, could literally cost you $2,500. Where with a flat top, the odds of you ever breaking a prop is very slim because of that extra durability. So as you can see, this prop is already damaged and has been repaired numerous times because the owner of this, just little oops and falls over time, they've had numerous different prop strikes. All these cage pieces are actually new because he had to replace them every single time he tripped and fell down. It gets very, very expensive. And just in the course of learning how to fly, with a weaker unit, you'll end up spending as much money repairing it as it would have cost to just buy an entire flat top. That is really a very critical thing. People have reported training at Paratoys, for example, and spending over $10,000 just in repairs. That wasn't the gear. That wasn't to purchase the equipment. That was just to repair the gear from little trips and falls causing catastrophic damage. So having a unit that's going to be strong enough to be able to prevent prop strikes and to be able to prevent the unit from easily being damaged is really, really critical, and it can save you more than the entire cost of a well-designed unit. Okay, another factor in paramotoring is having a quick release harness. Sadly, 2 people in the last week have died because they drowned in water. Most units like the Nirvana will immediately sink in water, and they have so many buckles that it takes you longer to get out of the harness, and you just can't get out of the harness. 2 people in just the last week have drowned on units like the Nirvana. That is really a huge catastrophic danger. Something like that is incredibly not cool. For a lack of a better word, that's screwed up. So having a unit with a quick release harness is really critical. First of all, the flat top floats. To prevent people from drowning, we've made the oversized tubing, the flotation foam in the harness, and the way the unit is designed, it actually floats in water, so it won't necessarily sink immediately, which that in itself is a critical feature. But the main thing about a flat top is the ability to get out of it. It has a quick release harness. You can get out of the harness in a fraction of 1 second. 2 people have died in 1 week. 1 week's time period, 2 people have drowned in the same way. Their paramotor immediately sunk, and for the life of them, they couldn't get out of the harness to save their life. That's a serious tragedy in the sport. So looking for a quick release harness with a unit that floats is really, really critical. You might just say, oh, well, they should have been flying over water. Well, in paramotoring, we fly over water. It's not about, expecting people to never do something. It's about preparing for everything. So worst case scenario, if you happen to end up in the water, flying around water is great because of the lake effect. You just get smoother air near the water all day. So a lot of us fly near the water. Having a quick release harness and a unit that floats is incredibly important. Now, other units have come up with flotation devices to try and keep you floating, but you don't want to stay with your paramotor if you go in the water. You need to get out of the unit immediately and get away from the unit. It is very, very critical. If you end up in the surf, say you go in the ocean and you end up in the surf, or say you end up in a river where there's moving water, if those lines of your paraglider get tangled around you and then the water catches the glider, it could literally shred you into little tiny pieces. So if you go in the water, you need to get out of your harness and get away from your paramotor as fast as you can. With 6-7 little buckles to undo, it takes quite a while to get out of that harness, especially if you're upside down, you're loading the little buckles, making them extremely difficult to get out of. You might have gloves on. You might have sunglasses on. That's why so many people have died going in water on units like this. Quite a few people have gone in water on flat tops. You can look around YouTube and see their own videos where, it's a real testament that nobody has ever died on a flat top. So that's a really critical area. Another part of the harness design on the flat top, which is a really critical thing, is handless seating. When you take off on a flat top, you just pick up your feet and you're in the seat. With a Nirvana unit, when you take off, you have to reach down and try and pull yourself up into the seat. So if you watch people launch on YouTube or watch different videos, notice the people that take their hands off the controls to try and pull themselves in the seat after launch. That's a really bad time to be taking your hands off the controls. Also, with a flimsy netting and huge holes in the netting, the brake toggles can go right into the prop. So if you let go of your brake toggles and lean forward to pull yourself up into the seat, your brake toggles can go right in the prop. Several more people have died that way. They let go of the brake toggles, trying to get in their seat on a unit that doesn't have handless seating. The brake toggles get wrapped up in the prop, it spirals them face first into the ground. Bad plan. Flat top, nobody's ever died. You've got the quick release harness, you've got the handless seating, so you just pick your feet up. You'll never see a flat top pilot take their hands off the controls to have to pull themselves into the seat. It's got the new design, you just pick up your feet, you're in the seat. It makes a huge difference. Plus, you've got the Kevlar netting that drastically prevents anything from getting back into your prop. A very great attention to detail was done to make sure that you're not going to end up with your brake toggle in the prop. Just something to think about. Another huge safety factor on the flat top.